evening, everybody. I hope you are as excited as I am because Brent is in the house. And this is a special moment. And I'm excited because we were asking in several approaches Brent to participate in our show as we are big enthusiasts and being inspired from his and Paul's show, the CRM Pliers. So at least we found a cool topic, which is from the bottom of his heart, something which is very important to him, and he is talking about it. Sorry?
Are we talking Rams today?
Okay, we have naturally the even more important topic, which is from his heart, which are his beloved Rams. And we keep all our thumbs crossed and stuck like that they deliver a cool show the next time they are on the field and make him smile like Garfield is getting 2 lasagne extra. Yeah. Wow. Such as like that. Wow. Yeah. But I thought on a less emotional but still very interesting topic, which is privacy. And at that time, when I dropped in an event sponsored by Zoho, I was surprised that Brent had taken a complete research on that topic and was presenting that with his colleagues or his sponsor from Zoho and some knowledgeable other people, and that he started then an own event, an own show regularly, which is talking about privacy. So welcome very much, Brent Leary, and we are proud that you are with us, and it is a delight to have you with us. So now I have touched not only Zoho, but I have touched also something fresh. And if we put some sugar on it, then we have at least 3 mentioned. We watch carefully what they do these days.
That takes the sap out of us. Now we have 4.
Wow, what a greeting. Thank you for having me. And I was waiting for the German part, because isn't there usually like a German introduction? Or is
that... das machen wir auf Wunsch natürlich sehr gerne. But the guys have decided that I should shut up of talking German, as this is making our viewers a bit nervous because they think they're on the wrong channel and they check up where they have to go. So we decided to ramp up a German-speaking show as a sidekick some time from now on. And we focus now on the good British English or American English. What is your favorite? You make your choice.
Yeah. German English.
This is clearly spoken.
I'm going to stay safe and say the American English, if that's okay with you guys.
I love it.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I get a chance to see you guys, some of you guys weekly, on the happy hour, and it's always a pleasure being able to interact with all you guys, and even you too, Marshall.
I appreciate that. I'm glad that you were willing to overlook me, just to come and help these guys out. It's really, really awesome of you.
Well, our English lacks, so we need you.
Wait, I just got to say one thing. CRM court jester, is that what? I have never seen that before, man. Is that something that you bestowed upon yourself, or?
It's a recent addition. I think it's fair. I mean, if there's a fool in this industry, it's got to be me.
No, okay. Enough with the self-deprecating humor.
And there's another side to it.
Yep.
The court jester traditionally was the only person who could tell the truth to the king's face and not get executed for it.
Now that's a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Imagine Marshall without head. That would be a disaster. So we love him.
Yeah, the body's a complete wreck.
And this is absolutely cool that he simply quoting history, came with that idea and said, okay, I do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. Yeah.
Just do it. I think that's a good slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And privacy, touching privacy. Thomas encouraged us to read through a very interesting article where some guys were friendly enough to do some research on what are the top items in the industry covering 2022. And I read this report and said, oh, there is a lot of stuff coming along, such as the tip of the iceberg is my beloved topic, GDPR. But what is a lot more under the water is the cybercrime activities. And if you just go for the figures, just speaking for Germany, it's 20 billion euros in economical loss, what we have had in the last year. Not 10 years, not 2 years, in 1 year, in financial loss through theft, assault, vigilantes running around and catching other people's data. So this is something urgent.
That doesn't include the amount that is spent to try and prevent it, which you could look at as an additional loss. If you didn't have to have the security and the privacy and all the prevention, that would be money that could be spent elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just think about, and you said that's over in your beloved Germany, where they have real privacy regulations with GDPR. Just think about that number must be over here in the States, where nobody seems to care. Nobody is really trying to do anything on a big scale around that. And it's, there was a story, one of the last watching privacies we did before the end of the year was we saw this story about the fast food drive-through at McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's.
Yeah.
If it isn't, don't hold me to it, but I think it's McDonald's. Where, you go to a fast food, line, you talking to the little thing and you have a little conversation and hopefully you get your food at the end of the day or at the end of the line. Hopefully it won't take that long. So you're just trying to get your stuff. You want to make sure they get it right, and they want to make sure they get it right, and then you get your stuff. Who would have thought that those conversations were actually being recorded and then eventually stored somewhere? But that's not even the tough part of this. And this is not on McDonald's, so I'm not calling out McDonald's. They have a technology partner apparently that they were working with that provided that technology. But all those recordings, every time somebody was going through and trying to get a Big Mac and supersize their fries, those things were being recorded. And then apparently there's a market for these voice recordings because they can help train on things like speech recognition. So you're ordering stuff, you think it's over after you get your fries and your Big Mac, and it's really just beginning. Your voice data is now on the black market and being sold because somebody can use that because it turns into data, and we all know data is like it's like the oil of the 1849 or the gold rush. And so it's like everything, because all these interactions, more and more of these interactions are being digital. That's like giving people the opportunity to take those interactions and sell them, even if they don't know exactly what they're going to sell them for the minute they're recording this stuff. Yeah. But they know there's an opportunity to turn that into gold at some point in time. So I'm actually surprised the number is as little as you said it was.
On what grounds are they doing that?
Yeah, I don't remember signing a release to let them.
Who was thinking about this with you before?
They're just doing because they can.
Well, and I cannot speak for McDonald's, so please,
Yeah.
my thought would be, well, maybe it's being recorded because you do want to improve the interactions. So you're able to record it, analyze it, see what works, what doesn't work. And that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
What's not a good thing is if somebody is storing those recordings and then selling them on the black market so that people can use it for something that was never even dreamed of being used for.
Yeah.
But it's happening because it's data. All of our interactions where we would go into a store before the pandemic, they were just, nobody was recorded because they weren't data. They were just conversations that you wouldn't think they were being you were being recorded. And then you would go into a store and remember that stuff like cash, you would actually take some stuff out and buy it with this other thing, and it was completely non-digital. Now all that stuff is digital because we couldn't go to the store. We're using Venmo or PayPal or whatever. And so every transaction now, I mean, you used to go to the market. I would know what I would get. Chances are the market didn't know specifically what I was getting because I was just using cash and I didn't have a loyalty card. But
Right.
we all do. So they know how many loaves of bread I get, when I get it, what days I might come in, what time of day I might usually get it. What brand. I mean, so there's so much more data out there on us now.
Yeah.
These companies are like, they're tempted. Sometimes you can't help but go with the temptation. Apparently,
there is something which is a very interesting aspect you mentioned, as we have a lot of our shows talked about the changes since COVID-19 started to become virulent and a part of our life. The transparency on each person's consumer behavior for the utilization of a customer lifecycle management focused industry, however they nice pack it up to their advantage, is coming a very clear topic. And this means a lot of privacy, such as it's some years ago that at surprise, one large public bank organization over in Germany was harassed as from people's security organizations that they were collecting data illegally. I mean, the so-called Sparkasse organization, and they have a banking card, the European DEC card, which is quite popular in Germany and also in Europe. And that system was said to be non-collecting data on the consumer behavior, like the big bad credit cards from the Americas and from Spain, and some other areas. And at a sudden, we were in the shit house as well. Yeah. And on the other end, it's what they try to make you clear, that if by free will you share data, it will be used. So think about it. I have always a very strong discussion with my wife. She is a very charming person, but if it comes to programs for loyalty, getting her data in systems which she is not thinking of that there is a benefit for her, so she doesn't like, this is a critical topic. Me being a marketeer and being sometimes very creative and said, if I would know more data, I could make the experience better. And she said, I shit on that experience. Either to serve me properly when I'm in the store, and you behave if I'm online, and you treat me friendly if I have a question, or I'm gone. That's my wife.
A delicate flower, that woman.
The interesting aspect is, what did you find out in your research, Brent? And did anything from the day you publish it till today change?
All right, so it's really good timing for this because I'm about to field the second annual study.
Bonus.
This was not planned.
Promo.
But when we did it last, well, actually, I think I fielded it in November of 2020.
Yeah.
So this was well before a lot of things happened. I mean, Apple had already done the iOS 14.5 update, so I think we were just kind of at the beginning stages of Apple kind of being. If you can have a line of delineation, you can almost say the iOS 14.5 update before and after, because that was one of the things that seemed to have brought a lot more focus on privacy. Because let's face it, before that, you didn't hear a whole lot about it, generally speaking. Consumers weren't like, for the most part, there was some few kind of yelling into the abyss. But most consumers were not really focused on that. We were just focused on, oh man, we get these free apps to use. Oh, it's really cool that we're able to get this stuff and not have to pay for it. And I can do all these different things with it. And we still didn't have to pay for it. Little did most people know, well, you really were paying with it because it was your data. Because every time you use that app, guess what? You're sending some info back that somebody could probably use to, maybe entice you to do this, or maybe you could go and buy that, or I just really want to sell your data off so I can get some real big money from somebody who really wants to do that. And so I think before, when we did the privacy study at that time, I was kind of surprised at the responses, because at that time, people didn't seem to be that worried about privacy. They were like, we kind of understand. What they're doing these things? That's all right. I mean, we had a question on how much did you know, or were you aware that the vendors, that you may be frequenting, are using software that allows third-party companies, people that you have no direct relationship with, to do whatever they want with your data. And they're like, well, I was surprised. It was like, 60%. We're like, yeah, we know. We're not too worried about it. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious to see what that will be this time around, because over that a little over a year, so much has happened in terms of the profile for data privacy just shot up. I mean, people are now paying way more attention. Apple gave people the option of, not, it wasn't defaulted on. You had to say, no, I really, I don't have to say I don't want it anymore.
So you had to opt out.
Pay that. So the default was on in terms of letting your, if you want to use this app, the default was, you can use this app and your data will go to, the company that made it. Now that people have that option, people have opted out of that stuff like crazy. I think app developers were surprised, taken back. And the platforms like Facebook was like, oh my God, really? Only 6% of the folks are now willing to give us that data compared to what we were getting when we didn't have to ask that question. So I suspect that I'm going to see some pretty dramatic changes over what consumers, their view towards their privacy, customer data privacy, and who is able to do what with it. But last year wasn't as big a deal. This year, I'm thinking it's going to be a much different story.
At that time, you have been a bit surprised about how many people are actually using that new feature of Apple's to opt out.
Are you surprised? I'm curious, because I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. I think because there was a growing, sense of, wow, I didn't know. You keep hearing these big stories about data breaches, and then the whole use of AI with data started to like, I'll tell you some of the things that I think played a role in this growing, it seems like, groundswell for customer privacy. Things like how, remember when Amazon and IBM were talking about facial recognition and letting cops use it, and then we find out that this stuff couldn't even tell a difference between a black woman and an ape, which is ridiculous on its surface.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to tell me that you're going to use this kind of technology with this kind of data, and you're going to arrest people on that, or you're going to allow, this data to be collected and do what with it, and it's still not working? Nah. So I think those kind of issues really started to raise the profile for what's being done with this data that's being collected. And I think you definitely started to see this pushback. I think we're still at the beginning of the pushback, but I think from last year to this year, it's going to be a pretty significant difference in some of these answers to the questions that we had.
Yeah, I think it's probably only going to be more of a pushback when it's revealed exactly where that data is going. In the broad sense, when someone says your data may be sold to a third party, that's okay. Well, but then when the story comes out, your data may be used to do this, it becomes more of a scare. If someone says your data may be sold to this company to do this in this situation, that's real information. That's not groundswell. That's not fear mongering. That's actually understanding what's happening. And I would argue that very few of us really do. I would argue that I don't. I have maybe a better sense than the average consumer, but even so, I only have a vague idea of just how far my data can get without my permission.
All right, but take your case specifically. How much do you think you know more over the last year than before last year?
I would say that I know, a good amount more.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that, every individual before, I'll take myself as an example. Before I started really digging into this, I didn't really look at the policies for if I download an app. I'll just hit the okay, but I'm good. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, who reads terms of service?
There's nothing to hide.
I'm an open book. I like the Rams.
No, you love them.
But we don't need to steal data to find that out.
No, you are showing it up.
I think I know what I'm getting into. I want to use this app. I'm going to have to give some stuff. I'll just hit okay. After starting to pay more attention to it, I've definitely got more involved in reading, the policies and trying to understand them all. And I don't think I know it all either, but I definitely feel like I know a lot more than I did previously. And I'm guessing I'm going to know even more as I continually get into this. So I think it's the trend that's going to be important. And I also think eventually there's going to be some legislation. I know, Europe has GDPR and certain states have their own kind of rules when it comes to privacy. But man, I mean, there's so many things that, do we really want every state having their own data privacy rules? So, I mean, from a business perspective, so if I have customers in states that are more stringent and I'm incorporated in a state that has nothing, what does that mean? I mean, how do we proceed with that? So I think, we're going to be, in it for a while trying to figure out, are there going to be national rules? Are the national rules going to be in conjunction with what's already going on internationally? I mean, there is so much that's going to happen and have to be fleshed out. And I think consumers, they're going to be on a constant journey of trying to understand this, and companies as well. So I think we're just at the beginning. The issue is who's going to drive that? Is it going to be politics? Is it going to be legislatures, or is it going to be the big platforms? I mean, let's face it, Apple has played a huge role in where we are today, and they're just one company. Just imagine. I mean, Google wants to do things because they're trying to get rid of third-party cookies. They went with FLOC, and people really weren't down with. They didn't give a FLOC, basically. I mean, so
Google, they weren't alone with giving a FLOC one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they did know one thing. If Google is able to put FLOC in, that's just one company pretty much legislating, what 60-80% of the browser users are going to be having to deal with. And the companies like the big retailers are like, why are we going to give Google that much power over how this works? There's too much money involved here. So I think that we're in for some really interesting times, and it's just going to be it's almost like a clash of the titans. Maybe this is what it was like back in the gold rush, where everybody was trying to stake their claims, and then the guys making the real money were the pick and shovel dudes and the denim jeans sellers, while everybody else tries to go after the gold.
Well, that's quite an interesting direction, because the cookie is open source. And now what we do have is, as the third-party cookie is kind of dying, it's becoming a zombie.
The cookie is crumbling.
Yeah, the cookie is right. It's crumbling.
Sorry,
so now,
I had to. It's in the title.
Well, it's crumbling, right? So now what happens is that all those big vendors, name them Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple themselves, and all the other data collectors, what they are creating is their own walled gardens. So, and what's the benefit out of it? How to get out of it? Because after all, the cookie, this open source technology, was partly, or to quite an extent, responsible for us being able to enjoy quite a lot of free stuff. Quality journalism for free was paid for. Well, it's not for free, because we paid for it with cookies. So
pay for it with our data.
It's the old story. Nothing is free. If you get something and you don't have to pay for it, you're the product.
How can that go on? So will we end up in a world where there is no free sort of quality journalism anymore?
Ooh. It almost feels like we're on the brink of that right
now. Without cookies.
Remember what were the market valuations for like the Washington Post and the New York Times and things like that before, like 5 years ago, and now it's like nothing. What is it? The New York Times just bought The Athletic. I mean, New York Times is buying all sorts of stuff, and it's all because I think. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years? I think that's the issue. Once Apple put the stake in the ground and said, we're giving you an opportunity to not be defaulted in, where all these companies that you don't have a clue who they are can get at your data and do whatever they want with it. So I think we're kind of getting ready to go in a big power struggle, because the big guys, the Facebooks, the Amazons, they did pretty well in this open environment. But now I think the writing is on the wall. It's not going to be the same, just like the gold rush era. It came and went, and things were not the same before or after that it was before. I think we're kind of at that inflection point with privacy and digital data, and I think now the big guys, the titans, they're trying to position themselves in a way that they can create the pathway to least existence between consumers and the stuff that they have in order to get the data and to convert that data into cash, money. So you're seeing Apple. I think one of the shows we did last year, after the move was made, Apple tripled their services revenue. So they make the move. It hurts the Facebooks and the Googles to a certain. I think it really hurt the Facebooks. But it not only supposedly helped the consumer have a little bit more control over their privacy issue with their data, but it also improved Apple's bottom line. So that's a win-win if I ever saw one for a company like Apple. They made the change. It helped the consumers, and it helped them financially speaking. That's what all these dudes are trying to do. If they're able to put things like, people did not go with FLOC because they were like, well, wait a minute, we're just going to give them even more power over how things go.
Why should an Amazon go with the FLOC? Why should they go with topics? It's the next thing.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with this. there's going to have to be some kind of consortium, because I don't think anybody is going to trust one entity to provide something that everybody is going to be using. That's why I think FLOC didn't work, and I don't think Topics is going to work either.
Yeah.
And I trust that politics or politicians are in several countries not as trustworthy as we would like to have them. So I don't expect anything good out of that.
No.
So a neutral institution and not the church, because it's manipulated as politicians.
Wow, we're getting deep.
You
Sorry?
think we could get the Pope to handle privacy for us?
No, he
I mean,
has
he's
a
a
lot
nice
of
guy.
power
Don't
as
get me
his
wrong.
hands, and I just saw that comparing these large organizations, which have a certain understanding of how to manage communities, or even not to manage them because they lose members, it is an interesting aspect. Who has the ability? And now do the practical checkup. How many customer loyalty programs you are in, Brent? And how many of these plastic cards do you have in your purse? Would you like to share this with us?
No. First of all, I don't have a purse. I don't have a man purse. I just have a wallet, you know.
Means the answer is simple: 0.
Let's see. All right. So we brought up Amazon, and I've been fascinated with them, for Marshall knows, for a long time.
So you are having a Prime
yet
membership.
another program about that.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's a pretty cool one, yeah.
But
You're a
Mostly.
media god. You realize that, don't you?
okay, moving on. So it just always like gets me that I could go to their site and see pretty much everything I've ordered over the last 25 years. I think like my first purchase on Amazon was in 1997, and it was a book. And the only reason I know that is because I can literally go to the site now and see that transaction. So I find that really fascinating. But I don't really know anybody over at Amazon. I've never, had any. I'm starting to have a bit of a relationship, from a business perspective. But I've been buying stuff for 25 years, and I've never really had a real relationship with anybody. What is that? What does that say? That means that they have done something right to turn me, a one-time dude that was just really, I'm just going to try this on a lark. I just want to see if this e-commerce stuff works. To, dude, I bought like things that are, 4-figure items on Amazon at this point. More all sorts of technology stuff. And I don't even think about it, because they've used that data to make it easier for me to buy stuff on an ongoing basis. Before I bought the book, it took 7 days to get to me. I bought something last week. What did I buy last week? It was something I needed. It was something I needed a new iPhone container or something like that. Case.
Yeah.
I ordered it I know this specific. I ordered it last Friday at 10:56 a.m. East Coast time. I had it in my hands by 3. So they're using data in a way that makes my experience with them ongoing, because I don't have to I don't have to fuss, I don't have to get out of my house. I can get stuff now within hours. So I'm good with it. Now,
convenience is powerful juju.
It is. Now, on the flip side of that, there's something I think they really still have some issues with, is when I use Alexa, I don't want my conversations with Alexa being recorded and used, in ways that, they weren't really meant. Now, I'm not saying they're doing that, but the possibility, the potential is there. And so, and we know other companies, they are using those kind of recordings for things. So, but so far, so far, I don't feel like the data I've given to Amazon has been used against me. Let's put it like that. So, but there are other companies that I don't get that feeling.
Against me is different, but when I purchased this microphone that I'm just speaking into, that you for good reasons don't see, So, of course, well, there was some Amazon research involved. And, well, I got convinced. I bought it directly at the vendor. Yeah. Well, I'm a bit mean to this this A company. Yeah, so I went to the vendor. The very next day, when I was looking up, well, I was reading news on my favorite German one, which I don't name here, that has about 16 or 17 spots for advertisements on its page. Guess how many were from one single company that wanted to sell me this microphone? 13. Yeah. So that was a pretty bloody expensive exercise for this company, retargeting, which is basically not for my benefit, it's for their benefit. So they're not using it for my benefit too. So, and how to get away with that? I mean, this was a pretty expensive exercise for that poor company because I already had it. It means retargeting as such is a futile exercise too. So it means there, besides privacy, something more is broken there in the process.
Yeah, but define benefit versus using against you. I mean, is it to your benefit to have things shown to you that you didn't even know you needed?
No,
and that's just it's fueling the buyer economy.
Yeah.
You know, the consumer. It's you know what I'm trying to say here. It's making people buy more shit than they need.
Mm-hmm.
And while it is good to have a growing economy, it is bad to throw resources away and to fill our lives up with junk.
Yeah.
And to make the people in the Amazon warehouses work harder for less.
And that is one critical issue we do have here, that the behavior in respect for human beings in working environments, that over here in Germany, we have still some strong unions, and they do a lot of strikes to during the peak seasons of Amazon to get some, let's say, pressure on them to do something on behavior towards the employees and better payment. Yeah, but there is one answer for me still unanswered. One question. It's a foreign language.
One answer is not yet asked for. One answer is not yet asked for.
Are you, aside of being an Amazon Prime member, which I would understand you are in, and you pay for it, are you in any other loyalty programs engaged? If the Rams would have one, I could say yes.
Actually, so I buy a lot of Ram stuff from Fanatics, so I'm definitely in that. But other than, and which is really interesting when you think about it, because my heart is in the Rams thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My heart is not in Amazon, but the impact is about the same, you know, because they provide the kind of experience that I'm looking for. Because I don't have a big, must fuss. I don't like shopping. Just let me get what I need and get it to me as quick as you can, and I'm good. And I will be loyal to you forever. Whereas the Rams, they could go 0-16, and I'm still buying stuff. That's because my heart is in that one. My head is in the other. But both of those loyalty programs give me what I need to stay with them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's probably for both. You want to. It's intrinsic, right? You want to, not you are forced to.
Right.
Or
that's the driver.
I'm forced to with the Rams.
Free will.
I can't give up the Rams. Like,
this is understood.
In your blood.
My heart is still for the Erster FC Köln, even that I'm no longer living then, and that they are performing like a roller coaster. Yeah. But it's something you are born in, and you stay with it if you like it, and you don't leave it again. Yeah. And so there are some guys which do not live in the Munich area, but they love their Bayern Munich. So happy with them. But what I'm looking for is, by free will, you go into a loyalty program and you analyze the, let's say, the general policies and have a closer reading and look carefully what they do with your data. But what is your expectation on what you get back? Because with all the metaverse shit we have going on and all that, what is collected against our will, there is a questionable benefit. If I go and pay at a store and show my payback card, I'm a loyalty using program shopper. And when I was working in Switzerland, it is like I had an anecdote where I said, if a child is born and the moment he gets baptized, he has his Migros card or his Co-op card. Yeah? And haben Sie eine Kümmerungskarte? Haben Sie eine Co-op-Karte? It's the typical question you get asked if the cashiers to show up your card to get your bonus points. And they honestly, they deliver bonuses. They have large programs where you get stuff cheaper, you get stuff for free, you get an extra invitation. And some German banks do it as if you are a community member, you get, for instance, a keychain chip. If you lose your key, they saw that it gets returned to your address.
Wow.
When you have registered. Yeah. What is your expectation in such a free will program, aside of the two we know now?
Well, I think my expectations are typically convenience.
Okay.
My time, how easy it is for me to get stuff done. I mean, if you talk about something like, I guess discounts too, if I get a significant discount. Mm-hmm. Because what you explained is like Walmart, the Walmart card is like, you go there because you buy in bulk and you get discounts and, so that kind of thing versus, the other, like, if you make it easier for me to get what I want, of course, I'm going to give you a little something because it means it's a value. It's it's what I value and what you're delivering to me that I perceive as the value I want. Then I'm going to hook up with you, God, I just went to a tender kind of thought, but no, I didn't mean it like that. I just was saying, if you know what I value and you give me that I value, I'm going to stay connected with you. But it depends on, what context you're talking about. I think I have a gas card or something where I get 3% off for gas. So I tend to go to that place.
Marriott, all these loyalty programs, the large hotel chains were very creative in inventing and utilizing this to create, as one of the first, very close customer experience due to your expectations. You got a larger room, you got your favorite drinks, you had your favorite sweets and all that. Ah, Esteban, you have time to join us.
Not him.
Lovely.
Yes. If you compromise privacy for convenience, you deserve neither.
Is he channeling Benjamin Franklin?
He's channeling Google pestilence.
Well, pestilence is just pestilence stuff.
So, but
Hi, Esteban.
Yeah, in clear opinion, one cannot expect anything but from Esteban. But what do you say?
Well, I think the thing is, there's always going to be a line, where you try to get, the two things that might mean the most. Usually, if you want, if you go too far on one end, you kind of sacrifice on the other hand. I mean, that's just kind of life. So you got to find, the mix that you're comfortable with. There's a certain thing around privacy I will not compromise on, but there may be some if it gives me this thing that I really like over here too. So you're always trying to find the proper mix, the proper line, the proper ratio, I guess. And maybe Esteban's his ratio is 100 to 0, which I don't know how 100 divided by 0 works, but that may be the case.
It's the singularity.
But for me, it is
that's Esteban. He's a singularity.
Yeah. If you appreciate Esteban in giving him, after a certain amount of consumptions in US dollars or whatever he is paying for his goods and groceries, he gets one of these favorite bottles of whiskey. He was showing up in your Riders of the Apocalypse show as appreciation gift. I believe that he sees a very honorable value in that somebody who knows his attitudes and his fun-making things, and when he can touch his emotion or a positive feeling at least, that he gets his attention. Put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very valid question. Isn't there a way of combining it? Get the convenience without harassing privacy.
I think there is. It takes work, and I think that's the issue. It may take work, and may take bucks. Whereas people like to take shortcuts and say, we can do this. I'm not worried about all that other stuff. If we get this from what we're doing now, I'm good. They're not worried.
Just a brief interruption. I would contradict him here.
Yeah, Esteban, we love you, and we're happy that you are sharing some time, because you meant the statement towards Thomas that you are so busy. So you take yourself the time. We love it. Honest. We appreciate your time. And the statement about the whiskey shows you that I try to dig into things which you like, and you show by free will. Yeah.
Oh, please don't be trying to kiss up to me now, man. No, but there are certain things. You may not. You're either 100 or nothing. I totally understand that. But most things in life are not 100 or nothing kind of deals. There are so many things that you're looking for the right mix. I'm willing to do this. It's like how the system is built. I'm willing to give you $5 if you give me this thing. That's a compromise. I mean, everybody's trying to look for the one that works for them best. On certain things, there is no compromise, right? But there are a lot more things that there's always a compromise.
Will that change in a pure first-party cookie world?
Yeah, because how many companies are going to really be able to fully do first-party data the right way and make enough money to exist? Not many, I don't think. So,
well, certainly not the Googles of this planet, but Facebook.
Well, I mean, if they can't do it, who could? I mean, what is it? Apple made $125 billion last quarter. How many apples are there out there? I mean, that can do something.
If only they'd share.
It's oh yes, thank you, DP Digital
Rye whiskey.
Thanks for giving us a hint what to buy next when we meet you in person. But what do you do, Brent, if you need a fit to your body proper suit? For you are in an official mission, and we do not have COVID any longer, or it's just reasonable. You are out and you need a suit, and you need a new suit, because for 2 years you have not the opportunity to go for your favorite tailor or men's suit shop.
You're asking the wrong guy here on this one, because
okay,
the last time I wore a suit was somebody either died or got married. I don't know.
I don't think I remember the last time I saw Brent wear a sports jacket, let alone a suit.
Okay.
Which is
then I'm mistaken. So wrong question from the typical old-fashioned guy who is the eldest in the round, who is still wearing such old-fashioned stuff.
No, I think if you're thinking like you did that before the pandemic, and now we're coming out of the pandemic, are we going to go back to that? Are you going to go back to that? I have a suspicion that some of the things that have changed dramatically. Shopping for groceries, a lot of people didn't do that beforehand. What is going on here?
He's on the roll.
Jesus. Anyway,
guess his 5 minutes isn't up yet.
He has still some time to be a little me.
I would say if I was wanting to buy a suit,
yeah,
I wouldn't do it online because I'd rather go and get it fitted because I don't want to, be mad if it doesn't fit right the way I thought it would. And then I have to go through the return process, which is one thing I try to avoid at all times.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go. Yeah, I'd much rather go, or at least give me some kind of a app, that does, gets the right sizes and stuff, and then maybe that works. But then we're giving up more data, so
and we are back in the metaverse.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to do the return thing with Zappos, but that's shoes. That's on, that's off. Meh. Doing it for a suit.
Yeah.
Well, I'd better get one hell of a deal, and I'm not an easy fit.
Yeah, I see that's the kind of thing that in that use case, yeah, I'm still going the old school way, just because I do not want to deal with the implications of a bad fitting suit and what time and inconvenience is going to cost me just for a damn suit. So yeah, I'm not going that route for that. Now there are other things, yeah, I've adapted that I didn't do before that now I do, and I'm like, I'll give you a perfect example. I never did Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of that stuff. Now, because I think I got a 6-month free membership because of the American Express card I have, I've been going to town on that thing, man. I mean, it's great, and I will definitely. I'm pretty much sure I'm going to continue doing that even after this stuff is done because it's just so convenient and easy. Pretty good selection of the restaurants, and yeah, so that's one of the things that changes. One of the things that doesn't change is buying a suit. I'm going to do it the old way. Well, if I ever have to buy a suit again.
Clear answer.
Okay. Circling a little back to those privacy regulations, do you think they have teeth?
Oh, this is the fun stuff.
Finally, after 50 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, man. We're like, you're looking. We got to look at local, then there's state, and then there's federal, and then you're gonna know that there's the lobbyists that are being lined up and bought by all the big guys, because anything that is going to be offered by one set, you can best believe the other group of people are going to be like, oh, this is terrible. We got to fight this as much as we can. So we're going to see at least tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars spent, maybe even more, on lobbying to try to shape those regulations that will keep the folks who are already at the top. They want to stay at the top. So it's going to be the clash of the titans when it comes to this. I don't know how long it's going to take for us to have.
You may mention this name of this report of mine more often, please.
Clash of Titans. Read his lips.
Yeah. So still, of course, they want to protect their
turf.
Their turf. Their their fiefdoms.
Wow.
Yeah, but even beyond
I'm inclined to say
turf,
fiefdoms, but
it's a lot closer to fiefdom than fiefdom there, Tom.
Yeah. So of course they are, and one could even say that this is kind of okay-ish.
Yeah, welcome to the
club. It could be okay-ish if you're doing okay-ish by us. And but the scary thing is, even if one company does everything right, what if that company gets sold to somebody else? Or what if they bring in a CEO who has a completely different, thought pattern when it comes to that? Then we're screwed.
And you're still just talking about legislation and policy. We still haven't touched investigation and enforcement.
Oh God!
Because what kind of mess do you need to create to do that?
Well, think about all the data that has already been distributed out. There's no getting that back. It's already out there. I mean, Facebook, if you die on Facebook, your profile lives on. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't feel like it should be fair. But if there were no rules or regulations before something gets put in, what happens to everything that happened before that regulation takes place? The data is out there. There's nothing that can be done about it. It's just one of those things. Anything that becomes digital lives on forever, and that's that's for good or for bad, and that's the sad thing. When you think about everybody's wearing these health trackers now. I mean, your health data is just it might be generated from being on your wrist, but then it gets sent to the cloud. And the good part is, Thomas is not going out like that. The good part is, maybe people analyze it and come up with things that improve our health and our livelihoods, which is great. And then on the flip side, somebody with nefarious purposes gets that data into their hands, and we all know what happens there. So it's everything's a trade-off here.
Yeah.
The things that we value may come with a price tag that we didn't know exactly how big it was, because we're looking at the dollar sign instead of the data that's going out with this. And that data will probably end up costing us more than the actual output of cash.
If you look into what happened after 9/11, you have lost a lot of your civil rights, and you haven't revolted till today against this or tried to get these rights back. Are we in a world which I would call the fastest gun, vigilance, theft, assault, and robbery, as long as it serves a higher economic purpose of rich, wealthy, powerful organizations, or not only economical, as we know the CIA, NSA, Homeland, MI5, MI6, Bundesnachrichtendienst, and some other schlapphut, these guys with these funny hats, are utilizing this data and shit on privacy. Yeah.
Wow, that was a long
sentence. And where's the question?
It's in the cheat sheet. I could read it, so it was easy for me.
It's even marked.
Long way
it's
to
highlighted.
go to say, how does this affect what governments and government agencies do? Because they're not businesses. They're always going to be sticking a nose in.
Yeah.
They're buying Pegasus.
Yeah. We're at least in this country where capitalism prevails, it really comes out to be, if you look at like the history of this country, let's say like with was it oil, Standard Oil and things of that nature, it had 90% of the market, and then Teddy Roosevelt came along, and the trust busters happened, and what happened? They made him sell off and break off, and then he still had a piece of the puzzle. He got a cut of all that stuff, and his cut ended up being worth more after the breakup than it was before. So I don't know. I mean, I think we're in completely new territory with how this stuff works, and I mean, because every transaction that used to be face to face or not digital, about 8 out of those 10 now are become digital. So I think there's so much data, and it's coming so fast, and it's coming from so many different areas. It's if you have a good heart, and you have a good culture, and you have a good strategy, maybe you're able to stay on the good side. But I'm guessing there's a lot more folks who are, even with the initial good intentions, if they're a publicly traded company, let's say, they have great intentions, but they're publicly traded. That means there are certain outside forces that are going to say, look, your last couple of quarters, they've not been too good. You need to do something when you're out. And they're going to be like, man, we got all this great data. No, we're not supposed to do that. I don't know. I like my job. We'll just cross a big toe over that ledge. Just a baby toe over it. But once you get over there and it gets, oh my God, look at the returns on this thing. Oh, we got more. So that's what it's going to be a tough slog with this privacy thing.
So
coming back to the question,
getting abused against free will is very strong, as you made that very vivid example.
I was getting ready to, I could show you my baby toe if it really helps.
Oh, thanks.
Right there in your
ESG, that stuff which is coming along, environmental, social governance, and all that stuff. Is that helping at any end for us on that privacy stuff?
Are you saying what's already been put in place?
Or well, I just read very often ESG, blah blah blah, and I ask myself,
what's ESG? I'm not sure I know what that
environmental, social governance.
This is what companies tout as purpose nowadays.
I love the way Thomas puts it.
It's one of these marketing shit things.
Yep.
Nice rapping about nothing. Yeah,
I think you've already answered your own question there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, you can't say 100%, but you can. It seems like there's a lot of folks touting things all of a sudden that I haven't seen them change a thing, but they're saying things a little differently. I don't know. I think there's a lot more of those folks than there are the folks who are truly concerned. But hopefully, maybe that group will grow, and I won't, be as sarcastic about it. But sometimes it's not hard.
That's my role.
Thomas, I don't want to hone in on your turf there or anything.
Right, here's my thiefdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's thiefdom. Yeah. Royal Tom. Mm-hmm.
No, not royal, not fiefdom with F, but deliberately with TH. New invention of a word.
Yeah.
So we are past the hour, by the way. How much time do you have, Brent?
Probably good to wrap up in a couple of minutes.
I mean,
how much can you take of this? I mean,
Hey man, we opened the door for you.
Yeah.
We get what we deserve.
Yeah.
It's so good to have you on this show.
Yeah.
It's always good to talk to you in general, but to actually get some shop talk in on a subject that you are knowledgeable and passionate about, this rules.
Well, you're at least half right. I'm passionate about it. So
humble bragging here.
The film with Robert Redford and some other guys where they have that silly little machine, Too Many Secrets.
Oh, Sneakers? Was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But wait a minute. Other guys, Sidney Poitier was in that movie. He ain't no just other guy here.
And the actor who was on other things, being Gandhi, but I couldn't recall.
Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, Ben Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Man, Marshall, you and I watch way too many movies, man. We're like,
yeah, true.
And
or maybe your memory is better.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
So, but what about this movie now? Closing.
That movie was giving me a clear hint on that if we share all the data and we do not disguise what data is taken and it's again viewable, public, I found that this was one story behind the story of that film, The Sneakers, where they said, if everybody is stealing everybody's data to have his own benefit, it's no good. If there is no such rulership over that new platinum and oil and whatever we can take it, it is on a fair eye-to-eye basis again.
Yeah, but most people in power, they don't want fair eye-to-eye basis. They want to stay in power.
There was this general who said fair is, I think it was Patterson, fair is if the other generals guys die.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
That, well, it's the same in business, right?
And on that note,
on that note, we probably should call it a day.
That's funny. I thought you were going to go with Minority Report because there's a lot of data implications in that movie. But
you can go even further back. Go to The Conversation with Gene Hackman.
Oh, that was really wow.
Yeah, and that's data. Analog data, and it shows you what could be done way back then.
Yeah, that was
like almost 50 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at any rate, this is now turning into a movie reminiscence podcast, which I'm here for. But I don't know if that's entirely fair to the audience or to Brent.
Yeah. What I just say is, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the audience enduring us.
That sounds like something that I say a lot on CRM players and
yeah. So, and we are going backstage now. See you next
Thanks,
week.
Esteban.
Yeah.
and thank you guys.